It's no secret that Popmart is becoming one of the biggest final toy collecting companies ever, with a juggernaut of a release schedule, constantly pumping out new releases every month. That includes things like figurines, plush pendants, and other unnecessarily expensive products. Like, seriously, why is this keychain the same price as the blind box? I don't get it. There's no denying that in the past couple of years, Popmart has been steadily growing to become a global mainstay. And with the announcement that there will be a float performing in the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade celebrating its... wait, hold on. 15th anniversary? Popmart is 15 years old? And I feel like Popmart just recently came to existence in the 2020s, and then we just found out that, nope, it's actually been a company since 2015? Like, how is it that old? Regardless, I took the time to reflect on the success over the years and how it's affected my time being with Popmart for around almost 5 years at this point. And to be honest with you, it's kinda mid. Do people still say mid anymore? I feel like we're just constantly adopting new slang every... And before you mention, I'm not talking about the gambling. As a matter of fact, you can consider me a big gambling defender. I even made 2 videos about it, which ended up being the same video. No, my issue with Popmart seems to be a bit deeper. It's more than just the surface level overconsumption, scalping, and the gambling. For me, it's more so of an issue that there's this company out here that's celebrating different types of artists they collab with, and yet their whole selection kind of feels like the same. Okay, seriously, I need to go back. How is Popmart 15 years old? So, what do I mean when I say that it's boring? Well, let's take 5 of the most popular IP within Popmart. Molly, Dimu, Crybaby, Skullpina, and Hirono. Yes, I know, I'm leaving out one very popular IP, but I'm saving it for a later section of this video. One thing that pops out to me immediately is this child-coded appearance in all the figures. The chubby-looking chins, sometimes exaggerated, them big old eyes, tiny pouty lips, and the fact that they're all 4-inch figures, so they always look very cute. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying these are bad figures. Okay, maybe expectations for the Crybaby ones, but it seems like they're following very specific patterns, and there's not a lot of uniqueness to it. This is what I call the Popmart standard. And for me, it's all the same cookie cutter stuff. Like, look at these 3 toys. Without doing any research, would you tell me that these comes from 3 different artists? And I just wish they branched out a little. You might tell me, well, that's just their style of toy making. If you don't like it, then don't buy it. And I would agree with you on that. But with Popmart being big as it is, wouldn't it help them a little bit to experiment or make something that doesn't feel that derivative? And here's the thing that makes me really upset about it. They actually did this before. If you look at the series that used to release around the early 2020s, which is a sentence I did not like saying at all, there used to be a slightly bigger variety of toys. Or at least toys that didn't follow too closely to the patterns of the Popmart standard most of the time. Here's a couple I want to share. Let's start off with Azura from 2 Clouds. Now in hindsight, 2 Clouds checks off a lot of points for a boring Popmart standard figure. But this series has a lot of elements I really like. The flossy textures of the tears, eyes, and hair really makes it unique. I think the material they used for this was resin. The different routes of outfits are varied as well, and the themes are so vast, you get a lot of great ideas for figures to create, and it all looks so stunning. Especially Y2K, which is my favorite set. That, of course, is a Japanese exclusive, because we cannot have nice things in this world apparently. Azura is proof that even if they follow the same standard, they could still whip up some unique features that make it stand out. Now, this hasn't had a blind box set since 2024, and it's hard to tell if this is truly discontinued, considering there's still some singular releases out there, so maybe one day it'll come back. And I really hope so. It's a series that I wish I had more involvement with. And that is especially true considering the only figure that I own is... okay, look, it's supposed to be melting snow right here, but... let's just say, don't put this one in a jar. Yoki by Yo-Yo Yaoing? Yaoing? Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry for butchering that name, but is one artist I'm generally surprised hasn't stayed in the long run because having a cute little animal on the Popmart lineup is something that we don't normally see in the main IPs. Okay, well, aside from Ducko, okay, maybe the only mammal we haven't seen in Popmart. Okay, I don't know if you count, but get out of here. Your section's not here yet. Just wait in the rating room, okay? What makes Yoki stand out for me is the different colors and patterns they use. The Little Patterns series is one where they use a bunch of striking colors to represent different planets, moons, and stars, and all looks so adorable. The different kinds of styles and patterns they use is really cool. Like, look at this fire one on the wings, or the star pattern Yoki. And again, I'm shocked this isn't considered a main lineup because this would be perfect for Popmart down the line. Especially when they had the recent clown set where everybody was all dressed as clowns. Like Yoki would have been a very easy contender for that. Then the last set was the Moment set, and let me tell you, this is one of the craziest sets I've ever seen. We're talking spring Yokis, clear ones, mini Yokis, melting ones, teleportation, fat, and even disappearing pixels. There are so many different kinds of techniques and gradients being used, it's all so cool and interesting. Like, damn, if this is truly the last set, then it sure came out with a bang. So as I was researching this, it turns out there are still Yokis being made, but now they're under the Kore brand, which is a more independent vinyl toy company, which does mean that the new Yoki figures are a little bit more expensive, but I'm glad Yayuing is still able to make more toys of her bat. But I still wish she were with Popmart again. Nori from Aragon is another series that stood out to me well, and the target for this figure is a young adult woman, probably in her 20s. This character design is pretty cute and reminds me of one of those drawings you see on Blue Sky in those lo-fi anime girl hip-hop playlists. Each figure shows her in a different outfit. I think making her adult can make her more relatable to the audience and can connect with her more than just being cute and nostalgic. I mean, she already is. She kind of looks like models for a PS1 game. It reminds me of those Molita figures from Fighting the Unicorn that has the same concept as Nori, with an adult woman getting so many outfits. In fact, I think Nori might have been made to compete with Molita, but I don't know when each figure debuted, so I could be very wrong with this. Or it could just be completely coincidental. My only critique is I wish they gave her more poses instead of this boring standing pose. But overall, the art style is very intriguing, and I wish there was a little bit more of this IP. The last set did shake things up a little with a yearbook theme, giving us younger versions of the characters. And I wonder what other themes they would have come up with if they just stuck around more. I found out while I was writing this that there's apparently going to be another set after the yearbook, but Popmart canceled the series because as it turns out, the Nori series was very unpopular, which does kind of suck, but I can also kind of see it. But also, like, again, real big shame, because I remember seeing them all the time at my Popmart store, but I had very little income at that time, so I had to complete with a lot of designs of figurines, and Nori was just the one that was left out. But it seems like the artist is still around on her social media, and she's still selling old stock at conventions. So here's hoping she could get a new blind box set with Popmart, or maybe even another company. Lastly, I do want to give a quick mention to Lobsterland by Philip Colbert, specifically because this is possibly the first time Popmart has ever worked with a Western artist, this one being based in the UK. And them not relying on an Asian artist allows them to explore different types of cultural styles that strengthen the variety of products to choose from. And man, these look so cool. I got one loose figure secondhand, but this is wicked awesome. Like, look at this guy. He's just a shark. That's all you need to know about him. And those are the couple of IPs that I wanted to mention. There's more I'd like to bring up, like Vita's and Instinct Toy. But for the sake of time, I hope you can see that how even in these sets, where they still follow the Popmart standard to some extent, they have some unique bit of flair to make them interesting figures to own. And yeah, maybe this all boils down for me not liking the art styles of the main IPs, but I just feel like there was a lot more variety back then. To me, the modern lineup feels like they're following so many features of the Popmart standard that they have very little to offer when it comes to their own unique style. And having the figures be small and cute does get a little boring for a while. And I think they're capable of branching out, going beyond just being cute and nostalgic. And I think they did somewhat achieve this. In the last IP I'm going to talk about, Koulibu. Oh my god, Koulibu. You know, I'm kinda shocked this was even associated with Popmart at one point, because these figures are so incredibly different than what they're used to. Even if we just remove the bunny girls, there's still a lot of distinct art styles and characters that Popmart never really got to explore in their own series. The rubber hose cartoon aesthetic, the sharp detail in the eyes, the funky character designs, and even representation of larger body types. But of course, one of the most controversial and striking designs to come out is the bunny girls. Okay, maybe even for Popmart, it's not that kind of shocking, but I don't know, to me, it is just kind of hard for me to process that this did happen at some point. Like Popmart, the Popmart that has sold you cute little Demus and Labubus, reminding you of simpler time of your childhood, is now selling you sexy bunny girls. And look, I know bunny girls are kind of a cliche, and it's not like that's just an insanely new concept. I mean, anime has completely mastered this thing. But when I am so used to the stuff that Popmart releases on a basis, and I see them with this, it does surprise me a little. And to be honest, I kinda wish Popmart did more figures like these, dealing with adult themes and topics, because you know, Popmart is a toy company that primarily caters to adults, so it kinda makes sense. I'm not saying they should have guns, swearing, or big boobs, but something like this where the artists and designers can kind of have a little bit of creative freedom in their designs, and they're not forced to be in this hypothetical paradox where they have to make toys that aim at an older audience that yearn for their childhood, but also not make any figures that remind them that they're adults. And personally for me, I don't think these toys were the most revolutionary or the most innovative Popmart has ever become. Not by a long shot, actually. However, I feel like when the Popmart standard is giving us stuff that all feels like the same, it seems to me that even in this state, Popmart is playing things safe and doesn't want to experiment on new things. And it's not like these toys were a product of an era where Popmart was throwing things at a wall and see what sticks. These sets came out around 2021 to 23, and they were still selling their big hitters like Demu, Crybaby, and Skull Panda. They already had their most popular staples settled, so it's not like they couldn't lose much to have that kind of experimentation every now and then. And who knows, they might find a new unexpected hit. However, something changed. I'm sure you all know what happened after that. There was one toy out there that completely took over the world by storm. One that would permanently affect the Popmart into the staleness it has become now. Many would blame this toy for the lack of variety in Popmart, but for me, I think this toy also is a victim as well. Alright, here we go, the moment you've been waiting for. I did say when I was talking about the Popmart standard, I intentionally left out one particular IP. And here it is. Now we get to talk about Labubus. Funny enough, Labubus are kind of an IP that does follow a few factors of the Popmart standard, but they also do a lot of things that make it stand out from a crowd, like the fact that it is a furry monster with sharp teeth. Actually, that's a lot like Instinct Toy, except I think Instinct Toy is a lot better. And in the past, Labubus were just as popular as the other IPs. In my opinion, I think there are more interesting and creative sets pre-2024 because it felt like Labubus were kind of this throw everything at a wall and see what sticks kind of series. That's why you got some fascinating sets like a Candy series, the Astrology set, Kaijus, and even Labubus in freaking mechas. Like, come on, look at this thing. You're telling me this wasn't the set people were crazy about? But of course, ever since the release of Tasty Macarons, everything changed. It took a while, but since Blackpink showed off her collection, the whole world went wild over Labubus. And Popmart definitely took notice. They started making more and more Labubus, and this attention was so massive, it's gone to the point where they kinda overtook Molly as the main mascot of the Popmart brand. However, I think with all this massive popularity, it came at a cost. Because of the Popmart standard, everything needed to be small, cute, and cuddly. Post 2025, it feels like they're doing the same thing every drop. Don't get me wrong, I like the Wacky Mart and the 1am set, but I like it more when there's an abstract depiction of Labubus and they're out here doing some freaky things with it. And don't even get me started on the plush pendants. Literal cookie cutter stuff. Everything is literally just the same Labubu with different colors. Due to the very high demand for the plush pendant variety of Labubus, Popmart went into maximum overdrive to give us more Labubu products to buy. However, these new Labubu sets feels like a slap in the face of the fans, and they were just producing them as cheap as possible, hoping people will just buy it for the name brand. Sadly, it did work. Even if I didn't like the main plush pendant sets for being so lazy, this is just worse. Pin for Love, which are smaller size Labubus with a massive 30 Labubu set split into two, sounds pretty good on paper. However, the fact that they committed to this massive overproduction means that the quality control was not the best. It was terrible. I mean, just look at these. You can even confuse them for being Lafufus, which are the fake Labubus with a big forehead. If they're tiny Labubus, then they certainly are cheaper, right? Yeah, if the originals are $27, then this one is $23. Are you serious right now? For this size? I know the tariffs are pretty aggressive right now, but like, you seriously couldn't make these at least below $20? I know it's a cliche to say these look like they cost $5 produced, but come on. How are the blind box figures that are made with more expensive vinyl plastic $3 cheaper than them? At least you get a nicely sculpted figure in a cool pose. This is just a plush on a string. But at the very least, it seems like the trend has died out and now it's pretty easy to get your hand on these. But in my opinion, I think the competition has made better plush pendants with way more effort put to them. Hell, even Popmart's other plush pendants look better than Labubu's. I just don't get it. Last thing I want to talk about for Labubu's transition to middom is the lack of character designs. See, the Labubus were based on a couple of children books from Kassing Lung's. Labubus were just one of the characters in a cast of weird fantastical creatures. You got Schoolboy, Taikoko, Yaya, Pato, Spooky, Bakuku. That last one I made it up, but I don't know. Maybe it is real. I haven't checked out the book. And while Labubus obviously took over the spotlight, there was still some love to these characters in the older blind boxes. Like, some of them even got their own figures in these sets, and it gave a lot of depth to the IP. That's why it was called The Monsters and not Labubu. Plural means there is more than one. But because of the plush pendant craze, it seemed everybody around the world were only talking about the Labubus. And Popmart took this too literally. As new sets came around, these characters started showing up less and less, to the point where nowadays they are just regulated cameo appearances, as the more famous Labubu reminds of who's clearly on top. A good way to see this change in character usage is to compare the collab they had with SpongeBob in 2021 versus the One Piece collab in 2024. Obviously, SpongeBob is being represented by Labubu, and it was the majority in the set, but a quarter was also given to the secondary cast. And then with the One Piece set, almost all of the Straw Hats are Labubu. You can argue that most of them are human, but even with someone non-human like Chopper, there was an opportunity to maybe reference another character, but no, they had to make it a Labubu. They had to turn him into a Labubu. The only expectation is Brooke being represented as Taikoko, but that one was so obvious, they didn't even need to work for that. Throughout this video, it seems like that I am having a big fatigue with Popmart, and you wonder why I'm still checking out with the company, even buying some of their stuff. The truth is, while I haven't shown any interest with the rest of the stuff, There is one Popmart series out there that is very unique from the rest of them, but unlike the rest of the discontinued series, it actually became successful in its own right. A wonderful little series called Peach Ride. Of course, it's Peach Ride. Have you not seen my collection? Look at them. Look at them. Giant Scott Pilgrim about three girls making a band. Like, come on. Honestly, Peach Ride is the set Popmart desperately needs right now. It is so different and unique from the rest of the catalog, and I think the reason I personally love this series is because it is a combination of everything I liked in those experimental discontinued sets. It is based on a Western artist, which figures that are depicting young adults. The outfits are all unique and variable, and sometimes they show a bit of revealing skin. And that art style, man, compliments to the chef. I know this art style gives off heavy Scott Pilgrim vibes, but I think this Scott Mart. Did I really just say Scott Mart? I think a Scott Pilgrim-esque art style might be the kind of the thing that Popmart desperately needs. And as for the figures, they're a bit taller than your average blind box figure, which makes them more like those anime figures you see, except it's for someone's OCs, which is very delightful. This gives them more leeway to have cool poses, and I think it works a lot of the time very well. Peach Ride is a fantastic set, but there is a couple of things I worry about for its future. Aside from the main figure sets they release, they also have Chibi Little Peach Riots. This started with the set Peach Riot Loading, and at the time the Chibi size figures made sense for this. The main theme behind this one is that there are various classes in an RPG video game, so the girls are tiny to represent the game sprites shrinking down when you're in the overworld, like in Final Fantasy, Legend of Zelda, and Pokemon. And then after Rush Hour being another full-size set, we got another Little Peach Riot sleepover? Like what? What's the excuse for them being small again? But surely the next set will be returning to full-size figurines, right? Really? Back to Little Peaches again? Seriously? At least for this one, you can make the argument that since it's a Christmas set, they are also designed to become ornaments on a Christmas tree. So they have to be small for this one, but wow. People were so convinced that there was a pattern going on from them focusing on smaller figures and going back to the full size. And then just to go back to little again, it just seems very redundant. And here's a picture of me getting 2 of the Christmas blind boxes because my god, am I the world's biggest hypocrite about this. But in all seriousness, there are plenty of fans out there that are getting tired of the Little Peach Ride set, because the regular size figures seen in Rise Up, Punk Fairies, and Rush Hours were unique, being these posable 1/8 scale blind box figures in a lot of cute and cool outfits. It's something that, let's be honest, we haven't seen much in the blind box final toy world. So for them to just constantly push out Little Peach Rides, to be honest with you, it's kind of an insult. And I'm starting to wonder why Popmart is resorting to these little variants. Some say that the little sets are cheaper to produce, and maybe they sold a lot better, but I have my own personal theory. What if Popmart doesn't like how different Peach Ride is from the rest of their lineup? And unlike the discontinued sets, they can't necessarily get rid of this because it's making so much money. So instead, little by little, they try to force them to fit the Popmart standard better with all of their other IP. Now they are smaller and all chibi and cute. Not like those older young adults with jobs. But this is just a theory that doesn't have a lot of bearing to it. Maybe it's just a trend. There has been little hints on the social media for the Peach Riot and Libby Frame, the artist for Peach Riot, that has confirmed that more regular full-size figures are planned for the future. And I do believe them. Speaking of the future, I'm still very looking forward to the upcoming Peach Riot products that seem to harbor back on the experimental side of Popmart. Like these Carry the Music block pendants that were first unveiled and sold in San Diego Comic-Con. While the official store debut might be delayed as they are working to improve the figures based on criticism they received, I gotta say, this is a smart move for them considering the US tariffs we are under right now. To release a figure with cheaper plastic materials for lower costs while giving us some goodies like dressable outfits and a pendant charm to carry in your bag, it's pretty... Hold on, I'm sorry, what's that? The MSRP is expected to sell for $24.99? $5 more than the blind boxes? Okay, maybe a budget product isn't one of Popmart's strong suits. Dear God, is that a Barrett. But if you're willing to drop down some extra cash, then get ready for this. Posable, articulated action figures with dressable clothes, or as the community calls it, ball-jointed dolls. These are so cool and cute, and with all the 3 members represented in different kinds of outfits, the possibilities for this are endless. Well, that's all I wanted to say about the state of Popmart. Just them getting rid of everything I like, release a bunch of boring figures, and doing a little massacre on my girls. Do I think Popmart is going on a downward spiral that eventually lead them to becoming a terrible company? Well, not yet. That experimental area with all the discontinued figures I was talking about earlier, you know, with all those risky sets like Lobsterland and Koulibu, that literally was just 3 years ago, and anything can happen in the next 3 years that could dramatically change everything. People are already saying the Labubu trend is in its last stage of the fad moment, and now a majority of their products is available to buy, where before it was just very hard to get some of the products. It's going to be a matter of time before people get tired of the Popmart standard and yearn for something new, something innovative, some new cute thing to fawn over. Will Popmart continue to choose to make risks again, or slide in a comfortable staleness that might not last? Personally, I'm still looking forward to whatever new releases Popmart might have up its sleeve. They still have an opportunity to release something new and shocking that's not like their Popmart standard, yet it excites people to collect these new things out of hype. I'm Tailsweet, and let's see what the next video brings us.